Broncos country, what is going on? We just saw our offense look inferior to the Pittsburgh Steelers, going down 13-6 in just an ugly game. I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what. You see my foam head right there. I've been so anxious to want to be putting on one of these things at the end of the game. Not able to, but yeah, I mean, Jeremy, we have so many areas to touch on. We can talk about the offensive line, the horrible game management there in the fourth quarter, run game, how our defense made Justin Fields look like a Pro Bowl quarterback there in the first half of the game. Where do you want to start with this thing?
Oh, man. It doesn't matter. All of them. That's all. You said it. We have a whole laundry list to talk about.
Yeah, it was insane. I think, again, the biggest thing that kind of popped up to me was just the amount of penalties. We could start there of just if we're looking at all aspects of the team, special teams, defense, offense, all three phases of the game, we had back-breaking penalties to continue to set our team back. Yeah. Multiple penalties in which we were giving them first downs on defense. Seemed like most of the time when we were receiving a punt from them, we were always pinning ourselves an extra 10 yards deep from some sort of holding penalty. And then on offense, I mean, Garrett Bowles, Mike McGlinchey were just I thought they were garbage today. They were terrible. When we have an offensive line that is making the amount of money that they're making right now, that type of performance with them coming out, not even being able to have any sort of running game for a second week in a row. I know Pittsburgh is a very good defense, but this is something in which I'm expecting at home. We're able to gain a little bit momentum on the ground. What were your thoughts on the penalties and the offensive line play?
Yeah, we kind of talked ourselves into, we're a young team and maybe, that's going to be an advantage for us because we don't know what we don't know and all that kind of thing. And it just shows up in ways like this because it's like just like undisciplined. It's like you cannot jump off sides on third down, 3rd and 3. You cannot jump off sides. Like you can't do it. Like just watch the ball. It's not hard. And you cannot lower your head when you're throwing it deep. If he makes the catch, he makes the catch. They're going to call anything that looks even remotely questionable. Now, I have a problem with the refs. I always do. About, we never get calls at home. I don't understand it. Some of those calls that were so late, and you're like,
no.
Just at that point, you're waiting to see if the Pittsburgh Steelers guy catches the ball, and then if he doesn't catch it, now it's a penalty. It's like, it's either a penalty or it's not a penalty. Just call it. And PS2, I mean, usually he gets respected by, the officials in the league. There was no respect today. I mean, both guys are holding each other, and it's all, it's PS2. Or, I mean, every little thing they were calling. And, I mean, that one first down that he gave up where he was playing way off. I don't know what that was. I've never seen him play like that before. Like, usually he's just locked on. If they make a tough catch, they make a tough catch. Okay. But that was easy. And
Surtain practically with that coverage call just practically gave George Pickens that big third down catch. But yeah, PJ Locke, I thought he was kind of up and down in the game against Seattle, and he had some really tough moments today that really, again, beat on that. What was it? A back shoulder fade. It was so funny out there seeing Darnell Washington. I mean, he is an absolute monster, like 6'7", like 270 pounds. He made PJ Locke look so tiny, but like that was tough seeing him get beat in coverage.
Yeah.
Having Justin Fields throw a touchdown pass against us. Like you said, the pass interference near the end of the game, or the lowering of the shoulder, defenseless receiver call right there on that third down throw, just totally inexcusable. You have to be smarter than that. I know it's a bang bang play, but you have to be better than that. And he was consistently extending drives for for Pittsburgh. He was bad. I thought the pass interference calls, like you mentioned, they were pretty ticky-tack, one on both Riley Moss and one on Pat Surtain. Did not like either of those, but at the end of the day, we can't put ourselves in position to where the refs are having that much influence on if we're able to get back into the game, right? Let's talk about the offense. I mean, it was disappointing, man, to see this offense come out, fail to establish the run again. I guess some silver linings is that, like, Bo Nix threw a couple to Cortland Sutton that, like, weren't totally over his head. Like, he had some good throws. Greg Dulcich was terrible today with two just backbreaking catches. This looked like a sloppy, bad football team. And I just got to say, I hate the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think that this is one of the worst teams that they've had in quite a while. I think their quarterback situation is absolutely atrocious. I think that they've totally lucked into Justin Fields being the starter with Russell Wilson hurt, because I believe from the moment they traded for Justin Fields that he's a better quarterback for this team than Russell Wilson. And but this is a game where you absolutely have to win. Bo Nix, being a 24-year-old quarterback, we're expecting him to come in here and play a little bit more composed than the average rookie quarterback. The red zone turnovers that he's had, both of these games, have been absolutely killer. And it's put us in a position where at the end, we've had to score a touchdown totally going against the clock, or not able to get the ball back. Even if we're able to get a field goal there on that possession in which he threw that interception, this is a totally different ball game. Maybe Pittsburgh opens it up a little bit, but once they got up to 13-0, I think that they were just totally okay taking 3 and outs, running vanilla stuff because they just felt confident. I mean, what are your thoughts on Nix's play and just how we made, like, we just played into the hands of Pittsburgh today, and I think that's totally frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, it was so frustrating to watch it. I think we just have to keep perspective. It's the second game of a rookie who didn't win the job. Like, it wasn't handed him like Caleb Williams was day one. I mean, he had the reps all preseason split. He has no chemistry with these people, and it's showing, obviously. And I don't think he forced anything today. That pick was bad. He just didn't see it on the replay. They showed. He thought he was going to be that defender just fell off and circled to the back, and he just didn't expect him to be there. That wasn't something where it's triple coverage and you shouldn't throw it. He just didn't. He hasn't seen that before. He thought the guy would still be on his man, and that's one of those rookie lessons you have to learn. But man, was that a killer? Was that a absolute killer?
Because that play call on the flea flicker was awesome, man.
And it's always like we get stopped at the 5, at the 3. We can't just score off the flea flicker. We have to like make some sort of like, now you have to do something else. It's just like, it's just one of those things where I honestly, I'm an optimistic person where I'm like, once it starts, it's just such a slog. Can we get it going? But once you get the final like snowball rolling downhill, it's just, then you'll start to feel better, and all these lessons will be learned and all that kind of thing. It's just so hard to be in the moment right now. Week 2, everybody's looking rough. Drops again. Gosh, like, help the man out. Like, that first one, Reynolds, low. I mean, he throws it low, which that's not a bad throw. It hits him right in the hands. And then can we stop with the clapping after we mess up? It drives me so nuts. It's like, oh, I almost had it. Yeah, you didn't. You didn't have it. And don't clap like you're like, oh, my fault. Like, no, like, you have to, you're getting paid to do it. You catch the ball. Like, that's it. And like, I just, there were some higher throws that he had. He hit Atkins on one that was like, but it's like, it's hitting you here. It's not like over your head where you're getting 2 hands on the ball. Catch the ball. Like, let's go. Like, help. I still think
we had 4 or 5 drops today.
Yeah,
by our receivers. Yeah.
You just can't do it.
Yeah, man. I hate to say it, but this is a game in which I think Tim Patrick helps us out again.
I know. Yep.
Especially with Vela being out. Like,
I loved every single move of the offseason until that Tim Patrick one. And I almost think those type of decisions, if you're going to make them that late in the process, it undercuts the confidence of your team, because you're like, okay, we got this guy, we're going to be good. And then all of a sudden it's like, he's gone. And then you're like, wait, what? Like, I just think it kind of swept the rug out of people. And I mean, look, if you think Bele's his replacement, Bele's younger, he played really well in the preseason. Nobody's disputing that. Yeah. And you just go, I don't see the burst in Tim Patrick, so let's just move on from him a little early, whatever. But it's like, he will catch the ball. And now you're seeing guys not catch the ball, and you're like, gosh. And you saw that Tim Patrick got elevated to the Lions.
Yeah, I did see that. Yeah.
So,
yeah, it's a bummer because, now we have to rely a little bit more on little Jordan Humphrey. I think Troy Franklin might have gotten one target, but that was kind of thrown out of bounds. Again, what serves a rookie quarterback, any rookie quarterback, no matter what their age is that we're able to develop a run game. We can get out to a quick lead. All of that. We haven't been able to do any of those things, but I think the biggest frustrating thing is that we knew coming into the regular season that Bo Nix would have his ups and downs. What I didn't expect was that I think we got 4 guys on the offensive line that are making around $20 million each.
Yep.
You have $80 million invested in this offensive line. For them to come out and perform the way they have in the first two weeks with Zach Strief being his coach, again, a wonderful offensive line coach. It is really disheartening to see Garrett Bowles or Mike McGlinchey. I mean, these are guys that we're paying to at least hold these guys at bay, coming off the edge for Pittsburgh for a little bit, hold them at bay for just a little bit. And especially in the first half, it's like, there were instances where Bo Nix wasn't even able to get through his entire drop back, because guys were already there. I do think that Nix, as this season goes on, he's going to get better. Obviously, starting out against Seattle and Pittsburgh might be one of the toughest ways to start your rookie season. But everybody needs to be better. The offensive line needs to give him more of an opportunity. And I think Sean Payton needs to get a little bit more creative when the run game isn't going the way that you want it to go. We have to get more creative to get Bo Nix in a rhythm. It's happening too late. And yeah, Mark, I think I might be getting some echo out on your end. I don't know. I can kind of hear a little something really quick, but after you're ready to go, Mark, would love to have your instant reaction. Thanks, Endo. We are working on it.
Yeah, sorry, give me a second. Can you guys hear me? Are you guys getting echo still?
No, we're good.
It was when David was talking, but I think we're good now.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, my fault. I couldn't find my my headphones. Sorry, fellas.
Okay.
Yeah, it was just I was able to listen to a little bit about what you guys said. I think it's just it's extremely frustrating when you can't run the football at all, and your rookie quarterback is your leading rusher in the first 2 games. No, it doesn't matter who the quarterback is realistically. I mean, okay, you can talk about like Mahomes or whatever, but you're not gonna be set up for success. It was terrible, and I think it's the same kind of trap that we had last week. We don't commit to one running back. We stopped going at it too much. We have a running back that kind of shows some flashes, and then we don't give him the ball anymore.
Yep.
It's just very confusing, and definitely very frustrating. And this game, even more than last game, this might have been the worst game I've ever seen Sean Payton coach, at least here in Denver, by far and away, in my opinion.
More than the 70-point game. Yeah.
Crazy enough, I'd say yeah, because the 70-point game was you just getting your ass kicked. I mean, flat out. Guys missing tackles. You're not going to sit there and say, "Oh, that's on Sean Payton because guys couldn't tackle." But this one was really bad. It just seemed like they took what they saw last week and they learned nothing from it, and it just did worse. And even the clock management, all that was terrible too. So.
Oh yeah. Let's talk a
part.
little bit about that. Let's see. It's 10-3, right? Driving in the middle of the fourth quarter. Maybe it's like close to 4 minutes. We're kind of already in field goal range. We got one timeout left. I know I didn't text y'all, but in my mind, I was thinking, because of the lack of timeouts that we have, we should probably kick this field goal, because I'm very confident that we can force Pittsburgh to a 3 and out with how we've been playing them on defense in the second half. And we continue to roll that thing past the 2-minute warning. Just terrible clock management, and then you double down on it. I know the odds aren't very good with the new onside kick or whatever, but at that point, you got nothing to lose, in my opinion, by doing that, going for the onside kick. I thought Sean Payton was real bad today. What were your thoughts on how the game was handled?
Yeah, no, I mean, it was terrible. I mean, that was one. That's just simple coaching 101. I mean, when you have just regular casual fans like us, I'm literally screaming at the TV. Like, I don't care if you score a touchdown or I don't care if you score a field goal. You've got to do it before the 2-minute warning. It was blatantly obvious. If you're going to take a shot to the end zone. Otherwise, just kick the ball on second down, because just like what had played out, if you don't, now you're not going to get the ball with 20, 30 seconds left. It was awful. It was terrible. So I really hated that. I wasn't a fan of the way that whole situation panned out. And yeah, I mean, it was frustrating. And I think with Sean Payton too, it's one of those things where, like, Tyler Beatty comes in, his first touch, he breaks it off for 16 yards. I love that they had him and Jaleel on the field at the same time. It works great. And then you never saw it again, They threw the ball to Marvin Mims one time. Now, granted, it was like on a 3rd and long, and it was, kind of a across the field type of a route to get him running a little bit. But why aren't you doing that again later on? It's such an easy way to get the offensive flow going. And so it was just extremely frustrating. There was no sense of urgency. They didn't use the up tempo at all until they had to at the end of the game. And then it just I really can't even. I'm like so irritated. Still, it's like hard for me to formulate my thoughts, but it's just mind blowing, because it's like those are things you don't really, you don't really expect from a coach like Sean Payton, who has the history and the track record like he does, right? So, I just hated seeing that.
Yeah, and this offense, granted, only 2 games, but this offense is averaging less points than it scored right now. Last season, which was a very ugly offense. Who do we got next week?
Tampa
Bay in Tampa.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh,
no, it's frustrating.
Man.
It's
this is
frustrating.
why this is why a lot of people thought they were not going to start Nix to start the season, because it's those first 4 games it's like a murderer's row of defenses. So it's like, throw Stidham out to the slaughter for the first month, then bring in Nix, and he's just going to look better. But he's looked so good in the preseason, you're not going to stop that momentum of everybody just absolutely losing their mind, saying, "Oh, this guy's like, ready and primetime ready." And you're like, no, you don't understand the difference between vanilla bad defenses in the preseason and elite defenses in the regular season. And they have everything to play for right now. You're not catching any teams after they're kind of like, oh, this might be not our year or whatever. Everybody's healthy. You're getting the best of their defenses. And agreed with you guys. Sean Payton, get the play in. There was a couple times Bo Nix looking at the thing like, let's go. Like,
inexcusable.
15 seconds left in the play clock.
Crazy.
What are we doing?
Sometimes we were still lining up with 5-6 seconds left to just snap the ball.
And then you're like mad that Bo Nix looks a little like skittish back there. He had 1 second to snap the ball while somebody's going across the pattern. He has no idea what the defense look is giving him because he had no time. It's like, hello, give him you can't run the ball. That's not helping him. You can't pass block. That's not helping him. You're not getting the play in. That's not helping him. And then when you throw it, they're not catching the ball. Like, What do we? I mean, it's insane. And then it's like, oh, he sucks, and you're like, oh my gosh, it's just this is early, young team, and it's all happening all at the same time.
I mean, we didn't throw our first screen until the second half, and like that's been the one of the most important parts of Sean Payton's offense dating back, over a decade ago, was their ability to throw the screen and execute those. And on the few times we did, I felt like they were actually executed pretty decently. But it's like, you want me to try that twice? It's wild. I see a lot of people in the comments talking about, once somebody said switch to Zach Wilson, other people are saying, Bo Nix sucks, or whatever it might be. There's a lot of that.
Oh, that's
listen, guys. I think the biggest thing with this is, if it's going to be terrible, like the best way that Bo Nix is ever going to learn, if you're ever going to know what you have in him, you've got to play him through the bad and the good. That's not really, in my opinion, something that's debatable.
Yes,
but you got to make it significantly easier for him to be able to succeed, right? I mean, you look at it with Jaden Daniels in Washington. They have a lot of inconsistencies and a lot of struggle because they can't run the ball very consistent. Caleb Williams looked terrible last week because they couldn't really run the ball and get him into a flow. We'll see how it looks tonight. And that's the most important thing, because when you're able to run the ball, it forces the defense to play in a completely different way. You kind of started seeing it in glimpses in the second half, right? We started to break a couple runs, and all of a sudden things start to open up. That's never by accident. That's something that happens, but it's the lack of continuity. It's almost like we're dealing with a head coach that's never, that was like in his second game ever. And it's wildly frustrating. And it almost seems like he's trying to call an offense that is, like last year, there was reports when he was with Russ, a lot of people were saying, he's kind of peeling the offense back a little bit, making it more simple because they don't feel like they can open it up with him. Well, they're still doing the same thing with Bo. And my whole thing is, like, I get that he's a rookie, but if you named him the starter, you should have named him the starter with the idea that you can open up the entire playbook as a whole. And so they're kind of hamstringing him by the play calls, and then they're hamstringing him by giving him nothing around him. And then obviously there's a lot of guys that aren't helping him with the drops and all that too. So it's just a recipe for disaster. I mean, regardless. And they got to fix it. They have no choice, but hey, we'll see.
It was weird to see us go away. I thought our best running back today was Tyler Beatty. I was pumped to see him activated. He had some big chunk runs for us today. And at that point, when you're struggling to get a run game going, I don't understand. I don't care what the draft capital is, what you're paying these guys. Just go with the hot hand. Beatty had something going, and we just went completely away from him. I feel like after those runs, but I think you're right, Mark. Like, it's going to be interesting checking out the coaches tape once that's posted on NFL Plus, getting an idea of kind of what a lot of these play designs looked like, because this feels eerily similar in a sense of kind of Sean Payton's first couple games of play calling with Russell Wilson last year. Just kind of all over the place. You're trying to figure out what's working, what isn't. And then he kind of settles into, all right, this is what I'm going to call. I do think you got to play Bo Nix, obviously, through the ups and downs. But my hope is that you can kind of find some base things that help him get in a rhythm earlier on. And then you can kind of build off of that. I think like right now, we just haven't been serving him very well with just being in third and long a lot of the time. When you're in third and long, no matter how good of a quarterback or how much veteran experience you have, that's always going to be difficult. You saw the difference when Justin Fields was working with third and short in the first half and third and long in the second half. You just saw the difference. I'm interested to know like what our average third down to go yardage was, but just a piss poor performance for everybody, man. Jonah Ellis had a sack that was nice to see. Again, I thought our run defense did okay, in the second half. Overall, the defense played pretty well, but just backbreaking penalties. And I was pretty disappointed with this is a bad Pittsburgh Steelers offense. I even think giving up 13 was kind of ridiculous in the fashion in which they got it.
Yeah. I mean, and it's crazy. Like, if you have 19 rushing attempts, right, in a game that, I mean, by all accounts, was close. It's not like we were getting blown out. is mind-blowing. I mean, the Cowboys today got their ass kicked. They got absolutely blown out by the Saints, and they still ran the ball more than the Broncos did. And that's not even counting the Bo Nix scrambles, like some of them that weren't even planned scrambles. And so I think that's another part too. And whatever happened to using the altitude to our advantage? It's like the biggest fraud of a home field advantage. Like if teams actually do get more tired at altitude, especially early in the year, which you see very often, teams aren't in the best shape. Why aren't we running the ball 50 times? Even if it's for 2-3 yards a carry, eventually it's going to break. You see it all the time. Mm-hmm. And that's how you tire a team out. And you do that. You run the ball consistently as much as you can. You do a little bit of hurry up. Now these guys are gassed. Now things are opening. It's crazy. It's crazy to me. It's something that I don't think I'll really ever understand.
Dude, if it was me and I'm watching that game, I'm almost done with Javonte. His vision is so terrible.
It's garbage, man.
There were some times that you could easily see he could cut it back. No one was backside at all. And he would still run right into the crowd. You're like, my God, dude, what are you looking at? Like, come on. There's sometimes he wants to dance. You just put your Beatty got in and he just went straight forward, found a little seam and just went as hard as he could. And all of a sudden, you got a long game. Now you got another long game. I would have just stuck with Beatty, like we said, because he always gets more than you think he should. And I don't know. I just cannot stand Javonte's lack of vision. And it's crazy. And Jalil's just like, he's not going to push any piles.
No.
So it's like almost you need him to be like the change of pace guy. He's not going to carry the team. So I don't know. It's just.
Tyler Beatty, one rush for 16 yards. He had a 16-yard rush, and then we never gave him the rock again. Crazy.
Yep. It's like, great job. No, but you're not doing what the rest of the team is doing, which is not playing well. How about you sit down? Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. There's just a lot. It's just so confusing to me. I mean, I even liked, I will say, like, I liked a couple of those design Bo Nix runs. I felt like that's a nice way to spur it. You do that, and then afterwards you throw it twice in a row. Like, I don't get it. There's no jet sweep. There's no end arounds. There wasn't any consistent, screens. You look at the Pittsburgh. What did they run, like 36 times or something like that? But they also, I think they had like
36.
I think they had like 7 or 8 screens also, and that's an extension of their run game.
Yep.
And listen, I've never really liked Arthur Smith. I thought he was not a really good head coach, obviously in Atlanta. But for this style of offense that I feel like we should be playing, he's the expert. He's the blueprint of exactly how to do it to be able to help your quarterbacks out. And it's the reason they're 2-0 and we're 0-2 because we just have a coach that seems like he's running an offense that if his way doesn't work, it boils down to better execution rather than why don't we try to figure out ways to make it work in other ways.
Yeah.
So,
there has been no desire to help him get into a rhythm early on. And I think you're hitting on something, Mark, that I think is real important, especially with the fact that we haven't been able to establish a run game coming out the gate, is maybe moving forward, that's something that we can hope the coaching staff is going to utilize more, is kind of giving him those plays to use his legs earlier at the beginning of the game. Like you said, we saw a ton of different simple RPO stuff at the beginning during preseason. We saw jet sweeps. I think we saw one jet sweep today that really didn't go anywhere. But I just feel like there's still so much more rather than the Sean Payton offense that he wants to run. Sean Payton, this needs to be a reality check 2 weeks in. Scoring, how many points did we score last week?
20, but 16 offensively.
Okay, yeah, so we've scored 22 points and 11 points a game. This needs to be a wake-up call for him. I know he wants to get to this stuff, but he needs to prioritize giving his quarterback a little bit easier of a time getting into rhythm at the beginning of these games. And maybe then we'll actually be able to play with a lead and play with some comfort and allow this defense pin their ears back and go after the passer. Yeah, just terrible. Again, tons of penalties. I think we had close to around 9 penalties last week for over 100 yards last week as well. Offensive line penalties were absolutely killer. The special teams was awful today. And a few penalties on the defense that were just absolutely backbreaking. No real silver linings in this game. Like, I can't really find any of them.
I can give you a silver lining.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
I really liked, like, you know, it's a rookie quarterback. He's going to make mistakes. He's going to overthrow some stuff. That pick, obviously, we missed it, Mark, but, you know, it's something he didn't see. The guy fell off the receiver, and he didn't think he was there, and, you know, that's something he didn't see. Those things happen. That was a killer, especially once we had all that momentum, but he was fired up. He was leading the team. I liked his energy. I liked him yelling at Payton, like, let's go. I liked his whole attitude on the sideline and to the team. That is something, he doesn't shrink. He does not shrink. And we have to keep perspective. It's game 2 of a rookie year against 2 elite defenses with a bunch of young players with no chemistry. That's what it is. That's reality. You can call that an excuse if you want. If you expect us to come in with all young players, no chemistry, didn't get a full preseason where he was the starter, and they was just going to light up the league, that's delusional. Like, that's just not going to happen. And it's just, he can be better, but also, like we said, when you can't run the ball and you can't pass protect and you don't catch the ball, and the play call is coming in with less than 20 seconds left, those are all things making it worse. But you know what? That guy, he's competing. He's not shrinking. I just have to keep perspective. It's week 2. This is a long season. Yeah. If this is what it looks like, week 16, week 15, we can talk about I don't know. This is way too early to be like, he stinks. He had one pass that he didn't see somebody, and he made some overthrows. Other than that, he's keeping his composure. He's moving the pocket. I love the fact that he doesn't. There's so many quarterbacks, high-end, highly paid quarterbacks, that have zero pocket awareness of somebody collapsing from behind. He always has that. Yeah, he's going to be skittish. He's a rookie. He's going against, again, some of the top defenses in the league. We just have to understand that's going on. It's just frustrating that other aspects of our team aren't helping or are not cushioning him at all. Yeah. It's just there you go, try to make it work, and we're gonna under the most difficult situations possible, and that's where Sean Payton is gonna need to figure out. We need to run the ball. We have to have we have to make it easier and simpler. We have to do it and get the call in. If you look at Sean Payton, had nervous energy on the sideline. He's chomping at that gum. He's looking at his thing. It's you should already have a list of the stuff you want to do. What are we doing? We had to take 2 timeouts today because you couldn't get your stuff in. It was insane. It's insane. That's the kind of stuff that it's we can all blame the quarterback. He's always going to get all the blame. He's always going to get all the credit. We get that. But the people that you paid all the money who have the experience, those people need to show up right now. That's it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. No doubt. I mean, I'm certainly not down on Nix. It'd be crazy to be down on any young player after
2 games in.
Yeah. I think for me, what I was so excited about with the Payton and Nix combo is I felt like it was a good fit because it was, rhythm and all that kind of stuff. And you can see a lot of those traits in him. And just like you said, Jeremy, I think there's a lot about his game and kind of who he is that you like. He doesn't seem like, even his post-game presser was so good. We can break that down. Right? He had an awesome comment for one of the reporters. Yeah. But the big thing is, the thing was Bo Nix can play very, very well in an offense when there's rhythm. And Sean Payton from his past has always been able to have an offense with really good rhythm. But he's done a terrible job of doing that for him. There has been absolutely no rhythm at all.
Yep.
Not just from the execution of the players. Obviously, that's always going to be a piece of it. But the play calling doesn't even have rhythm. And so how can you be down on Bo Nix when the head coach has done a treacherous job, to be honest? So Just like you said, it's a long season. I think that there's a lot of, we can't make any kind of assumptions until, minimum week 10, right? But by no means do I think that Bo Nix doesn't know how to play quarterback or can be a good quarterback. I would argue the opposite. No problem.
Nah, yeah. I think my biggest concern or disappointment right now, 2 games in, is just, again, we got an offensive line that we're paying on average over $80 million for, and we can't get any sort of run game going. And it's a combination, the offensive line and who we got there carrying the rock for us. That has to get changed. That has to get figured out. We can't. I mean, what do we average per carry? Like, we'll go take a look here. Maybe we see more Tyler Beatty. Like, let's do that. But Javonte Williams had 11 rushes today, averaged 1.5 yards a carry. Jaleel McLaughlin averaged 2 yards a carry. Like, we got to get this thing figured out. But right now, no allegiances to salary, draft capital, anything like that. I want to see more Tyler Beatty with what we saw from him in preseason. And the one rush we saw today, I want to see more. Yeah, let's just see what he can do.
Yeah. I mean, and you look at it there, guys, we average 3.4 a carry, right? You take away Bo Nix's runs, we're averaging 2.9.
Yeah.
2.6, actually.
And take away the Beatty run, the one run that actually worked, then it's probably like
pathetic. It is pathetic. And like I said, the fact that you look at this box score and you see, man, Broncos only ran 19 times. This must have been a 28-0 game at half. And it's like, that wasn't the case. It's wild. You're right, Ronan. The Broncos run game is trash. It's trash in every way, in every possible way of the word trash.
Yes.
It's not, they can't block well. They're not creative. There's no physicality to it. It's wild. It's very shocking to see, for sure, to say the least.
The few times they were creative, it worked. And then they just went back into like the shell of it again.
Yep.
I mean, man. Yeah, it feels like if Javonte was standing in front of like Eisenhower Tunnel, he would pick trying to go through one of the mountains. You're like, it's unbelievable. Dude, you got to just put your head down and go. I don't know if it's because he lost the weight and now he feels like I have to be the shifty guy. You're not going to.
He looks slower though. That's the wild thing.
That's what I'm saying, because he's dancing. It's just like, put your head down and get it.
Yeah. No contract extension for Javonte. It sucks that we're without Audric Estime here for a little while as well. It would have been nice to see what he could have done against a more physical defense there with the Steelers. But just an ugly game. Granted, and hopefully. We can bounce back against the Bucks against the Bucks any given Sunday in the NFL. So maybe we actually put a good offensive game plan there in the first half, and we can surprise some people. But not this. This was a game that we had to have. Pittsburgh's a really good team because they know how to win ugly. They have an identity, all of that, but. They have a piss poor offense, and ours was double piss poor today, and I think that's the biggest disappointment. Where Arthur Smith looks like a better play caller today than Sean Payton, and he needs to be better, man. But Mark, with watching the press conferences, were there any little interesting nuggets that you took from that?
Well, I think the good thing, the one thing I actually appreciate about Sean Payton, if there is anything at this particular moment, is he takes a lot of accountability.
Yeah.
First and foremost. And so, he definitely seemed to put a lot of it on himself and the coaching staff and them needing to do better. But I didn't get all the way through Sean Payton's, but I did see something on what Bo Nix said. I actually didn't even see this. It was just in a group chat that I had. This is verbatim. The reporter asked Bo Nix, they asked him, let me get you the exact quotes. Can you walk us through the interception? And he literally goes, yes, I hiked the ball and I threw it to the other team. Just like pissed. Like, why am I going to walk you through it?
Pissed. Yeah. The look on his face after that pick, he was like disgusted.
Yeah. And Sean Payton broke that play down a little bit. He said what happened was, obviously it was a very bad decision. but the route that was supposed to be run on the top of the screen, I think it was Troutman or somebody that was supposed to take that safety down. They said he completely botched the route. And so what had happened is that because he botched the route, the safety was just hanging out there, and Bo was looking left, and then he's supposed to basically, have Sutton wide open. But my thing is, I get that, and it probably would have been wide open had the route been run, but you still can't throw that, especially on second down. Take the points.
It's just that's a rookie mistake. You just didn't look.
I mean, ain't no doubt about it. But it's just those things where when you have an offense that is so reliant on everybody doing their job all the time, it becomes frustrating. Now, I know that might sound counterintuitive, like, all offenses are like that, but it's funny because you watch like the new school guys like Kyle Shanahan call plays, Sean McVay call plays. A lot of the times they always have those plays that they go back to. They're like, they're back to basics. Just get a flow going, and then you open it up. And it seems like even those plays that we have require so much nuances and complexities to it. And that's where it gets really frustrating. It's like, why don't we have our bread and butter plays that we can always go back to back, if we need 4 or 5 yards just to get some confidence going.
Yeah.
We're undermanned, and we have zero room for mistakes. There's just no slack in the line whatsoever. It has to be run perfectly for it to work. And other teams, it's just like willy-nilly, and people are wide open, and you're just like, that's crazy. But that's what happens when you owe 70 something million dead cap money, and you have a rookie quarterback, and you have a very young team, and you let go of your veteran leaders, and all that's whatever. You just have to deal with that. That's fine. But I mean, that's going to happen. I mean, you're going to have to pay those debts at one point, and we're paying them right now, because it's just not going to come easy with where we're at right now. It's just like, we're all, you're always optimistic every season in the beginning of the year. We might be better. The national people are saying we're only going to win 5.5 games, all that stuff. They're crazy, whatever. And then you go, oh, okay, I see why, because people are making dumb mistakes, and you have young people doing stuff that they're, that's inexperienced. And then, I didn't expect the Sean Payton stuff. The one thing about Sean Payton is he's never had a rookie quarterback. He's always had vets. And I just don't think he has adjusted to having to kind of slow things down and spoon feed a little bit more. He's just like, oh, just do this. Oh, just do this. And he can get it in late because we can just do that. And everybody knows the plays. And that's just not where we're at right now. That's just not where we're at. And you're going to have to start from the basics again, create an identity. And for God's sakes, we have to run the football. That's the number one thing we have to do.
Yeah. Rodgers bringing up a great point here. Popping a bunch of practice squad type guys on the field. They're not able to compete. Total dearth of talent. Yeah, I mean, when you're having to throw to little Jordan Humphrey and some of these other guys already week 2, it's not great. And maybe that $1 million that we saved in cutting Tim Patrick can help us go towards snagging Jamar Chase next year. But one can dream. We need playmakers on offense. Hopefully this next week, we finally can see Marvin Mims featured in an offense. We can see speed at the running back position valued. I mean, yeah, man. Again, I'll go through the coach's tape later when that's posted, but I agree with your reaction, Jeremy, of just his vision in this game was garbage. And it didn't help the offensive line any better when they were already struggling. So good news is that, hey, if this offense is able to click this year, I think we're going to surprise some people in some of these matchups, because I do think our defense can keep us in some of these games, man. I really do think so.
Yeah.
But we need to I think Pittsburgh had close to 20 minutes of time in possession in the first half, 3 and out. Yeah, it's got to come together eventually. But yeah, I think Sean Payton's gotta focus on just getting Bo Nix into a rhythm. It's clear after the first 2 weeks. That's just what he has to do now.
That's my biggest concern, to be honest with you. I have no concerns about Bo Nix's like makeup. I have no concerns about his arm. I have no concerns about his legs. I just don't want him to have to like get into a bad habit of forcing it because we're not protecting him and we're not catching the football. And now he's forced to like, we have to make a big play. We're going to lose the game if we don't make a big play. And then you just start, that's where you start to, they lose the potential and then they lose their confidence. And then that's the part where it's just like, we have to avoid that because he's capable of doing all the things that you want him to do. And he's playing like a rookie right now. But if you're going to make it so hard, I mean, Sean Payton's putting him on the highest of high dives right now. And you just can't do that. And you just don't want him to have to like learn those bad habits. Like that's the one thing about this that I'm concerned about.
Yeah.
It's so difficult. Everything is so difficult right now that you can't just keep running your head into a wall and being like, there's never going to be, eventually you'll figure it out. But if you lose confidence and you're not, yourself, that's where things can go bad, So we have to change that up. We have to run the ball. I don't care if he's not getting shots, but that's it.
Yeah. I mean, you look at last year, guys, when we went on that win streak, I mean, even the offense at that point was not like we were taking the league by storm offensively. But we had a genuine commitment to the run. We had a genuine commitment to one running back. In the game last year against the Chiefs when we beat them 24-9 or whatever it was, Javonte had like 27 carries in that game. We ran for 153 yards. McLaughlin was super efficient. And even though he averaged 3.2, they stuck with it. They battered the team, and eventually it broke them. Same thing in that Vikings game. Same thing in the Bills game. It's like they had an identity, and they had it with one back to get him into some sort of a rhythm. I don't know. I have no idea what the hell they've been doing these last two games, but they haven't been attempting to run the ball enough, and they've been giving it to amongst three different players, or even in some cases four. And so it's really mind blowing to me.
It is. Well, guys, I appreciate you joining me. Any last thoughts on today's game?
I'll just say, you're having a bad day. If PS2 wasn't PS2 and we didn't know who he was, and this was his first game ever, we'd be like, this guy's trash. I mean, the way that they were calling it, I mean, I honestly think like a lot of those were like such like reach calls. Like, come on, you're going to call that ticky-tack stuff. You're going to call hand fighting. You're going to call that kind of stuff. But like, I'm just saying, I'm not mad at PS2. Those days happen, but I'm just saying when you're having one of those days, when your best player, your all-world player is having one of those days too. It's just one, and these are I always say like, you have to earn the good times. And these is one of those days where you're really earning the good times because that's ugly. That it's just crushing when you have all this optimism and then it just is falling apart. And everything you thought was going to be a strength is being a weakness. I just hope we're healthy. I hope we get through these first 4 games. I hope people keep perspective. I like the fact that I didn't see the pressers. I like the fact that people are taking accountability. That's a really good sign. You don't want people to start making like reasons and saying, and start pointing fingers. That's what you don't want. So, it's going to be tough. The Bucs, it's not getting any easier. Nobody's coming to save us. Next week's going to be hard too. The next 2 weeks is going to be hard. Maybe the Jets aren't as good as we thought they might have been. Their defense is legit though. So, we'll see where we're at.
Yes, no doubt. Just like SoCal Johnson saying, on to Tampa Bay. Hopefully Bo can get his first passing touchdown next week. Him and Jaden Daniels are still looking for their first passing touchdowns. Washington wins, scoring 7 field goals today. How about that? Hilarious. There wasn't one field goal, I think, or one touchdown score in that game with the Giants Commanders, but we'll see how Caleb Williams does tonight. But overall, we got to get Bo Nix in a rhythm, and hopefully that starts next week. Mark, any last thoughts, any ideas, or like any things on your channel that you want to plug, let the viewers know what's coming up?
Yeah, no, appreciate it. I'd say last thoughts for me, man, is I know that we've probably heard it a lot, but I think patience is key with this team and with Bo Nix. It all starts and stops with Bo Nix and his development. The end of the season win totals is not nearly as important as understanding if we have a franchise quarterback and if we don't. And it's hard to preach patience when we've tried to be patient for 8 years. But regardless of if Bo Nix is the guy or not, what I can tell you guys is that we are actually at least doing it the right way. We're actually on the path of saying, if we're going to try and we're going to fail, we're going to at least try doing it the proper way instead of band-aiding it like we always have. So just keep that in perspective. It's all about building. And one thing, if you look at history as any kind of a benchmark, history always shows that at some point of the season, Sean Payton's team will figure it out. They will string wins together, and they will look a lot better. And whether it happens this year or not, who knows? But it's all about the development of the quarterback for sure. In terms of the channel overall, no, I don't got nothing really on the docket. Obviously, I think I'm going to do my first ever film review of a game, which I'm really excited about. I've just been trying to figure out how to actually like do it simultaneously. So maybe I'll hit you up, David, about that and see, because I've just been having some issues with like getting the screens up and all that and the editing process. And then, we're going to do a lot of fantasy football content, but just really do some more roster deep dives, some things that, you'll probably hear me cussing and complaining about the same old stuff, but I'm just looking forward to better days ahead for sure. So,
yes. Well, I look forward to that. Yeah, we can chat off air here in a minute. I'll show you how I get things done. But Broncos country, appreciate you guys tuning in and supporting despite another disappointing performance. Let's see us turn the corner next week. Hopefully I can pop on the foam head right there next week with the Broncos victory. Until then, it's going to sit on the shelf. But guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Smash that like on the way out. And as always, y'all, go Broncos.
go Broncos, baby.
All right. Let me hit this